Some of the most important items you are ever going to come across in Lord of the Rings Online are your legendary items. In this video, we are going to talk about how you acquire them, how you level them, how you modify them, and how you upgrade them, along with some tips and tricks along the way. Now, this video is going to be a longer one, so there will be timestamps along the bottom so you can reference specific parts of the video at any time. Also, at the time of making this video, we are currently at level 150, and the group-based content for the Corsairs of Umbar has not yet been released. Anything in this guide is obviously subject to change with any patch in the future, but it should be a good starting point for you and a good reference at any point. With all of that out of the way, let's jump in and get you started with legendary items. Okay, so what are legendary items? Legendary items are specific to each class and are adaptable gear tailored to the character's unique combat approach, build, and style. Unlike standard weapons and gear with fixed stat bonuses, these items can be personalized. This customization is achieved through the addition of items called Traceries that are acquired as quest rewards or instance drops. Also, use of enhancement runes, which are also obtained as rewards or drops, are used to upgrade these Traceries. As characters progress in levels, legendary items can undergo reforging, which enhances their item level and fundamental stats, like DPS. These items are intended to be advanced in tandem with a character's progression. Once acquired, a legendary item remains relevant throughout the character's journey, continually upgraded with new traceries and enhancement runes. So let's talk about how you get your first legendary. Now, there are two different circumstances here. One, if you are a brand new player reaching level 45, or a character that has already had previous versions of legendary items that need to be updated to the current system. For this first part, we are going to talk about a brand new character that is reaching level 45. The reason I say level 45 is that is the earliest that you can acquire the quest to start into the Walls of Moria and acquire your first legendary item. Now, to get started with this, we are going to need to head to Ekaduden. This is going to be in the southeastern portion of the Eregion map, and that is where we are going to find our quest giver for Volume 2. Go ahead and speak with Rothwald and pick up Chapter 1, The Strangers in Holin. Volume 2, Book 1 does have 13 chapters with a couple instance encounters that you'll need to complete. Once you reach Chapter 8, before the Doors of Durin, you will actually do the encounter with the Watcher in the Water, where you will realize that you need legendary items to continue your questing. Once you've completed it, you'll exit and talk to Rothwald again, and he will give you Chapter 9, A Weapon of the Elder Days. This is the quest that you will obtain your very first legendary item. In this case, it's going to be a weapon. Most classes will get a weapon and an item as well, with some exceptions like the Warden, where both items are actually weapons. It is also very important that you do not do any reforging or any work to your legendary item yet. It is actually part of the quest lines to teach you how to do this. So do not add any traceries, do not reforge it until you are instructed to in the quest line. Once you receive Chapter 10, Forgotten Lineage, you'll actually need to go to Rivendell and talk to Dethalion at the forges up by the stables. Pay attention to the red text in each one of the quest updates, as this will give you an idea of what is necessary and what you're going to be doing with your legendary items. You are also going to be reminded to not reforge until you are instructed to in the quest line. Once you reach Chapter 11, that is when you are going to talk to Snar, the Forge Master here in Rivendell. At this point, you can go ahead and reforge your legendary item, and this is also when you can rename it. There are a couple things that happen when you reforge a legendary item. One is that all of the tracery slots that are on the item currently can be upgraded, and it will tell you what they can be upgraded to. In this case, they can be upgraded to level 52. Also, one new slot has been unlocked. There's a very handy guide over on LOTRO-wiki that shows you all of the levels in which you can reforge and how many slots will be unlocked at that time. Fortunately, earlier on in the game when you first receive your legendary items, you don't have that many slots to worry about, so it's a little bit easier to manage and progress through and earn them and upgrade them as you go. Now after you've reforged, you are going to go back to Rothwald at Ekadunen, and you're going to take chapter 12, which is the Watcher in the Water, and you're going to encounter him again. After the short encounter with the tentacles again, you will be ported back out to Rothwald, where you will pick up chapter 13, Khazad-dûm at last. Go ahead and accept this quest, and you'll be presented with the Moria cinematic. After the cinematic, you'll be placed in Durin's Threshold, where you will talk to Tolk one last time, and this is where you will pick up your legendary class item. Now that you've completed all of that, you have your first 2 legendary items, and you can actually keep these through all the way up to whatever the current level cap is. In this case, level 150. This is a great update for characters that are leveling. We don't have to reforge and replace legendary items like we used to anymore. We literally get the ones right out of the gate here, no pun intended. But you're going to get these and you can keep them all the way through, and it just makes it a much better experience overall. So now that we've covered how to get your legendary items as a new character reaching level 45, now we need to talk about if you are a returning player or a character that has legendaries that were part of the old system that need to be converted to the new system. So let's take a look at that. Now to do this, you're going to need to open up your old legendary items panel. And to do this, you're going to use the menu button that's on the lower left side of your toolbar and go to legendary items. By default, your old keybind for the legendary items panel will currently bring up the reward track instead, so you may need to go through the menu like this. Now once you have your old legendary panel open, you are going to notice that in the lower right hand side there is a button that says appraise item. You're going to want to do this for everything that you have slotted in this panel, including your bridle. Now when you appraise an item, you are going to get several items in return. All the items that you're going to get off of this are going to be level equivalent to the item that you just appraised. Now what you will get from these is enhancement runes, ancient script, and a shattered tracery of whatever level cap that one was at. And just a reminder, the enhancement runes are what we are going to use to upgrade our legendary items. The shattered traceries we would turn in a location in Rivendell to get the traceries that we want, and the ancient script is really just the legendary item currency. The idea here is that you're going to use all of these things on your new weapons to make them equivalent to the ones that you got rid of previously from the old system. You can verify that the appraisal has been done on an item because the button will disappear in the lower right hand corner, and that is all you will need to do in this panel. At this point, you can actually throw away your old legendary items unless you want to keep them for cosmetics, or you just want to waste inventory space. That's up to you. Now that you have all of your old legendary items appraised, let's go get some new ones. Go ahead and make your way to Rivendell and go to the last homely house. Once you're inside the last homely house, head to the left and up the stairs, hang a left, and there will be a door on your right, and that is going to lead you into the word Hoard of Gobetham, also known as the Archive of Traceries. And this is where you can find every tracery, minus a few special crafted ones. There's also a vendor in here that allows you to barter for new legendary items, and also has some enhancement runes, just the uncommon ones for whatever tier you're trying to work on, along with tracery reclamation scrolls and a consumed on use map back to the archive. If you take a look around the room, you're going to notice several different bookcases, each one typically having a different type of tracery on it. The main hall here is actually all of the class-based traceries. These are all going to be sorted by level, by rarity, and by spec. So it can be a little tricky finding the exact traceries you want if you don't know if they are general buffs or if they are spec specific to whatever you're trying to do. So just browse around a little bit and kind of get familiar with where these traceries are, and then we'll kind of go from there. In the back room, we'll actually have all of the non-class specific ones, where we will have Heraldic, Word of Craft, and Word of Power traceries. Each of these are going to give you different stats and bonuses, and in some cases will give you set bonuses if you put them all together. Okay, so we're going to head back over to the vendor in the main hall here and go ahead and purchase a couple of items. In this case, I'm going to purchase a greatsword and a rune for my champion. And we're going to speak to the vendor again, and we're going to go ahead and reforge these items. Just a side note here that you can only rename your legendary items when you reforge. So if you are at level cap and you reforge now and don't name your item, you won't be able to do it until the next reforge becomes available. Okay, so now that we've reforged also, let's take a look at the actual item that I have. Now, granted, I am level 150, so this is going to reforge at item level 515. It's going to give me 1 heraldic tracery slot, 2 words of power slots, 6 words of mastery, and 2 words of craft. It should also be noted that your item and your weapon are going to have a different amount of these. Your class item will actually have 1 additional word of power. Now, assuming that you've done all of your appraisals already, you're going to have a lot of ancient script to work with, most likely. And in this case, you can go ahead and buy the traceries that you want. Make sure that you are paying attention to the level, the tier, and the rarity of the traceries that you are buying. They do come in uncommon, rare, incomparable, and epic. The incomparable and epic tier of these are going to require a extra shattered tracery of whatever level range you're trying to work with. So for this example, I'm just going to buy the uncommon ones because they are the cheapest, and that's just the easiest to do for this example. So if you take a look at my inventory, I actually have a heraldic tracery. I have my 2 words of power, I have my words of craft, and I have my words of mastery all ready to go. So how do we slot these things? You can right click on the tracery in your inventory and it will show available items that can accept that. I would probably advise against this just because you want to make sure that you're doing exactly what you want to do and not letting the game kind of dictate what you're doing. The other way that I would recommend doing this is by opening your character panel and dragging the legendary item that you want to work on to the flame icon on the lower right hand corner of your gear slots. This is the socket tool, and this works for both essences and traceries. Once you have the legendary item panel open for this item, we are going to go ahead and start dragging items into their appropriate sockets. When you start dragging a tracery to the panel, you'll notice that the socket will have a sparkle graphic indicating that that socket will accept that tracery. You'll be met with an "Are you sure?" and you want to say yes. And then you'll notice once it is slotted, you'll actually see all of the stats appear, and also that the socket on the side will give you a number. Each socket has a level, and in this case I'm at 500 out of 515 because I used a level 500 tracery. What is actually very helpful about this system is that when you level a socket, it stays leveled. So if you switch out what tracery is in there or the rarity, the level of the socket stays the same. So don't worry about that. Okay, so now that you have all of your traceries equipped the way you want them, now we need to talk about how we upgrade them and where upgrades come from. As it is right now, there are 2 different ways to upgrade parts of your legendary items. You can upgrade the rarity of the tracery that you have equipped, and you can upgrade the level of the slot. Upgrading the level of the slot is done through enhancement runes, and upgrading the rarity is done simply by replacing that tracery with the higher rarity one. There is no way to simply just increase it. So I'm going to go back to the vendor here and actually purchase 15 of the enhancement rune plus ones for level 141. So same as before, we are going to go ahead and drag the item that we are going to be working on to the flame icon in our character panel to open up the legendary item panel. And you can drag a whole stack of enhancement runes and it will only use what you need. So in this case, since I have 15 and I need 15, it will use all 15 of them. But if I put a stack of 20 on and I say use 20, it's still only going to use 15 because that's all I need. Now, as before too, when you're dragging the enhancement runes to the panel, you'll notice that the tracery slot that can be upgraded will start to do its little glitter animation to let you know that that socket can be updated. Otherwise, it won't let you use them. Now, the other thing we need to talk about upgrading is the rarity of the traceries that you have. So in this example, I'm going to actually go back over to the heraldic traceries wall and actually get a rare version of the one that I already have. So same thing as before, we're going to drag the legendary item to the flame icon, open up the panel, and now I'm going to actually drag the heraldic tracery over top of the existing one that I have. You will see a message pop up letting you know that if you replace it, it's going to destroy the old one and you will not be able to use the old one. You can, however, do a couple things here. You can go ahead and just overwrite it and let it destroy it, or you can use a tracery reclamation scroll. Now, here's the thing, is if you use a tracery reclamation scroll, it will remove all of them from that item and you will need to reapply them. The other option is to use mithril, and you can do mithril for either upgrading the level of the slot or removing a tracery from your item. Something else to keep in mind here is that when you upgrade the level of the slot, it will typically only update the secondary attributes of a tracery. So in this case, the Heraldry of the Lion, the physical mastery that is on it was updated when I increased the slot level with an enhancement rune. However, when I increase the rarity of it, it will actually increase the primary stats that are on it. So in this case, the might and vitality. So now that we understand how to get our first legendary items, or how to convert our old ones to the new ones and set them all up and everything, how do we take that a step further and increase these things through doing content? Now, the great news here is there is a plethora of ways to get enhancement runes and get traceries and get the tokens that you can barter for the traceries that you want. Now, right now at level cap, you can actually get some incomparable enhancement runes by doing weekly mission wrappers, by doing delving wrappers. Also, you can get some rare enhancement runes by doing quests out in the Ettenmoors. And during festivals and events, so like right now we have Ill Omens going on. So if you actually do the quest wrapper for that with doing the skirmish assaults across Middle Earth 10 days, you'll actually get a gold tracery token. Now again, with the token, you can actually go back to the word Hoard and barter for the tracery that you want. You don't have a random element in there. Now, if you do things like the skirmish of the Doom of Karas Gelebrin, if you're doing that one, you'll actually get a rare gold one. So you may get something that's completely unrelated to your class or specification, and it may be completely useless to you. Also, doing things like the featured instance have an opportunity to drop traceries and enhancement runes and things like that. And also just doing the storyline and questing in the current content also has the ability to reward you with these things. So there, like I said, there is a lot of different ways to get the enhancements that you need. What's really great is that since it was added to the Ettenmoors as well, really any type of playstyle that fits you, whether you like to do PvP or festivals or whatever the case is, there are opportunities for you to get enhancement runes and traceries. There was another update to the legendary items that came about with the Corsairs of Umbar expansion pack, and it was how enhancement runes worked. So before, enhancement runes needed to be, if you wanted to increase the level, you needed to increase the rarity. Now the rarity just dictates that, you know, if you have a uncommon one, it's +1. If it's a rare, it's a +2. If it's incomparable, it's +3. And if it's epic, it's +4. And what this is referring to is how many levels it will increase the slot. So if you have a gold enhancement rune, it will actually give you 4 levels to your tracery slot. I have another video on the channel that actually kind of breaks that whole system down. So if you want to go check on it, I'll have it linked down below or somewhere on the screen. One tip for this also is that if you are a class or a player that has multiple specs, or that you're going to be having multiple legendary items, you do want to make sure that you put things in a certain order that allows you to swap them. You cannot have multiple unique use traceries across a set that you have equipped. This is usually exclusive to Word of Power traceries and Word of Mastery traceries. So now this guide was a little bit longer and a little bit more complex because this system is a little bit more complex. So let me know if this was helpful down in the comments below. And also be sure to check out any of the other guides that were posted for the Corsairs of Umbar releases. that we've done in the past. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.